This episode of the eCommerce Playbook is brought to you by Particle. Particle is a competitor intelligence platform trusted by leading brands like Skims, Hexclad, and Fashion Nova to uncover new revenue opportunities. Stay ahead of the curve with real-time competitor data and insights on market trends from over 10,000 brands. With Particle, you can explore ways to increase your market share, identify consistently growing products in your category, and understand how you compare to competitors. As a new partner to the podcast, Particle is offering an exclusive 2-week free trial and a 20% discount off your first month with the code CTC. Discover new ideas and market insights with Particle by visiting particle.com and using code CTC at checkout.
Welcome back to another episode of the eCommerce Playbook Podcast. And today is a special one. We've got a revelation for you all. And it comes from this tweet that I put out on January 23rd of this year. The tweet reads, "I found a magical wizard, someone who learns faster and works harder than anyone I have ever met. Together, we built a way to offer full CTC growth service to sub $10 million brands at a price that makes total sense. If you'd be interested in testing out this magical resource, DM me." And at the time, I got a bunch of people that DM'd me, and we've been working through the service now for about 7 months. And we're excited today to, 1, reveal the wizard, and 2, to share a little bit more about this service that we think is a special offering that is near and dear to my heart, and I think is going to make a huge impact on the market. But first, the grand wizard out from behind the Emerald City, if you will, Mr. Joy Sharma. Joy, it is a pleasure to have you in person and in real life here.
Thank you very much for the warm welcome. And these are the most kind words you've ever said about me.
Hey, Joy, if you ask any of my direct reports, I hold on to those morsels of compliments and I give them out. But when they come, they're really rich. You know, they're good. So it's a pleasure to have you, man. Real quick for the people, 2 sentences. Who are you and what are you doing here at CTC?
So we are building the next phase of what I would say is your favorite customer segment at CTC. So we're building a service offering for 7-figure businesses. And it's basically called CTC Global Accelerator. So the motto there is, it's world-class services at the best price.
And Joy is the man leading that effort. And so today what we want to do is we want to tell you a little bit about the story of how we got here, because it's been quite a journey. It's been a journey in choosing the person and the relationship that I've developed with Joy over time, as well as a journey on the service offering side for CTC and things I've learned about how the relationship between small business and agency needs to exist. And so we're going to try and do both. We're going to give you backstory on why I think Joy is the key to this. He really is the unique value proposition that is actually bringing this and making it possible. Candidly, we had, as of January 2023, completely abandoned this market. CTC made a conscious choice to move our ideal customer profile to 8-figure brands because the economics between the price we wanted to charge, given our labor costs, and the customers who could afford to pay that just didn't exist in that range. And so we had left this market behind. And if you know and have been following CTC for a while, you may know that our mission statement began as about helping entrepreneurs achieve their dreams. And the further you move up market, the further you move from the entrepreneur often. And so it was always in our head to figure out how we could get back to them. And we've maintained admission as a place where that happens. But for our core surface, we had to leave that customer behind until now. And so Joy is a pathway to that. And I think, Joy, I'd love to start with your personal story, because I think your personal story overlaps with something that's happening in the market that makes now the right moment for bringing this service to life. So tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got into this business and what you've been doing for the last few years of your life.
How early do you want to go? Like from the start?
I want you to get, assume people have no idea who you are, right? Where do you come from and why do you have any credibility in this space? Like, what is it that we should believe about you?
All right. So I'm Joy. I live currently in India. And the way I started here is basically when I finished school, I got a scholarship to study actuarial science in Canada. And between that period, I had 6 months to go and do whatever I want to. So part of the reason being I don't want to wait tables when I'm in college. I want to do something online. And the challenge there was I needed to find something where outsourced or outside talent is appreciated and you can work online. It doesn't need to be necessary in physical places. And that was before we had the COVID incident, and it was not that normalized to have remote work. So I Googled, I found, and the best thing I found for myself was media buying at that time. It was kind of related to what I wanted to do in college, which was actuarial science, which is basically just risk management and have good skills in mathematics and computers. So it was very similar. And I started there, got a job at a small UK agency for marketing. And what happened was, for 3 months, I learned everything I could find on the internet about that. And within 3 months, they fired the head media buyer that was at that agency, who has worked there for 3 years, just because I knew more than him within 3 months. I was like, well, that was easy. So I had the realization there that in this industry, nobody cares what your background is, what your degree is, and it's a very unique industry at that time period where it doesn't matter who you are, but if you can actually do good work, everyone is happy with you and you can open all the doors for yourself. But if you're bad at it, you are not getting anywhere. So that was something I loved. And that day, I decided to do two things. First was wake up every day at 4 a.m. and just work the entire day for the next year. And the second thing is I heard it somewhere, which was the way you get good at something is you go to the best people and you learn everything from them. And the way you get best at something is you do the first thing and then you do it to all the people. And that is what the mission statement has been for me. So for the last 4 years, all I've done is I've been to all the people that are good, every person that you've probably heard about. So it will range from people who are in brand aggregation or e-com or agency, ranging from $500 million aggregators to small agencies and all the positions from president, CEO, CMO. And all I've done is just got their time, learned from them, and told them, hey, look, I don't know anything about this, and it's your job to teach me, and I'm willing to put in the effort. I'm willing to pay for the time. And that's what I did. And I went ahead and I basically got the sum aggregate of all the information that exists in the industry this way. And I did it not only for media buying, I did it for all the services. At some point, I was like, well, I'm getting bored of this now, so let's do it for everything. So I did it for media buying, growth strategy, forecasting, creative. I even started recently data models, which now that we started this, I just put it on a hold. But yeah, that is what happened. That's how I got to know everyone.
So we need to stop here because I think it would be really easy to just take what Joy's saying and going, oh yeah, like he studied a little. But I'm going to tell you now my experience of Joy. So before Joy and I were business partners on an initiative here together, I was one of those people that Joy incessantly bothered to learn from. I was one of the many people who he reached out to, I'm sure. And I bet there's some of you listening that have spoken to Joy and you're like, oh my gosh, that guy who probably messaged me 100 times and joined my community and absorbed everything that I read and would just incessantly find ways to get access to the people that he wants to. I was one of those people. Okay. Joy would find all these mechanisms to get to me and he would get on calls with me. This would be through admission. He signed up for Statless and got me to book a call to explain how to do Statless. He joined admission and found ways to get me on calls through that. He would go to former employees and get them to set up conversations. Like any way you could imagine, I would end up on phone calls with Joy, including paying large sums of money at various points to sit and listen as well. And so when he says that he obsessively consumes knowledge and sought out everybody, and this isn't just me, I guarantee you those of you listening that have had this experience with Joy. I have never met someone who as insatiably as Joy did went after knowledge. And this is what's so intriguing. I'll give you an example. We had to ban Joy from admission. So we created this thing. He's laughing, but he knows it's true, is that we have a hiring center inside of admission where you can hire our employees for an hour at a time. And he actually discovered the sort of secret, which is that you can actually arbitrage our price by just hiring our people through admission for like 30 hours a week. It's actually like, and so Joy would book every available hourly slot that he could to talk to creative strategists and media buyers and me, anybody he could get his hands on, such that eventually there would be no more inventory left. So we had to ban him from the community. In addition to that, he would download every doc that we ever created. He would recreate it. He would get employees to leak him docs that weren't even publicly available. I have never experienced so much just incessant knowledge. And the first time I got on a call with Joy, he pulled open this infamous Google Doc that he calls his Taylor file. And Joy, to this day, still will not share this file with me. But it is a giant 50+ page Google Doc of basically everything I've ever said on the internet. And what I experienced when I got on this call was transformative for me for a bunch of reasons. One, he knew more about us than me. Like, he knew more about CTC than I did. And what I mean by that is he had talked to so many people from so many angles that his understanding of our present state of our system, my own employees' perception of our organization, all sorts of these things, that he had such incredible insight that I was like, holy cow, this is incredible, the enthusiasm with which you're pursuing knowledge. So I just need to contextualize. When Joy says that he wakes up at 4 and does all of these things, I call him the amoeba, which is he finds people and he absorbs them. He absorbs everything in their brain. And then once he's done with them, he moves on to the next one. And not in a mean way, and this is actually my greatest challenge with Joy, is that it pushes me to go seek more knowledge, because otherwise I get absorbed and spit out and he'll move on too. Joy, I got to know, where did this come from? And why did you see this as the opportunity? Because I think I know, but I'd love to hear you express, why did this all of a sudden ignite in you an enthusiasm to go after this specific thing?
If you're still struggling to keep up with your competitors using traditional methods, you will love Particle. Particle is a competitor intelligence platform trusted by leading brands like Skims, Hexclad, and Fashion Nova. Imagine having real-time competitor data and market trends from over 10,000 brands at your fingertips. With Particle, you can explore ways to increase your market share, identify consistently growing products, and understand how you stack up against the competition. Plus, you'll discover trending variants and uncover branding and pricing opportunities. Sound too good to be true? Just see for yourself with Particle's exclusive 2-week free trial and a 20% discount off your first month using the code CTC. Just go to particle.com and use that code at checkout, or click the first link in the description below.
So first of all, you will get your Taylor file. I told you it's your birthday gift, so I will send it over and it will be packaged and all that stuff. But in terms of knowledge, yes. So I don't know. I found this. It was I heard it somewhere, which was, you go to a university and you learn from the people, and you basically learn from the people that didn't actually make it in that industry. And that's what they teach there. And it's like very famous saying. And partially I agree with that. And you and me have conversation about what is the value of going there and all that stuff. But I want to see, okay, so what happens when you actually go to the person who is the best at it and you learn from them? And I found out that whatever the cost is, it's the best ROI. Like we talk so much about ROI and return on invested capital into anything. So what if I just invest that capital into learning from someone? And it's the same thing. Like, I think we started this service because of when our coaching ended, you told me, Joy, you obviously know everything that Taylor does about e-com, and people can access you at a discount rate. Hence, you now are Discount Taylor. So people can get access to you for all the information at a discount. And that's what I did. I got access to information at a discount where I would have need to spend 12 years to learn everything that Taylor does. And I didn't want to be that old when I know all that stuff.
So one of the things so I think there's a few things there, Joy, that you've tapped into that are these like very base principles that I think for some people are actually hard to not just internalize, but apply, which is the idea that paying for knowledge has the highest return on capital. This is a thing we've all read. It's a trope, common. You've experienced it and lived it out in a way that's real. Two, the other thing is, I think you found a meritocratic environment, meaning that you realize that where you were from, how old you are, which people need to know, you're very young, which in many industries would be for people an idea that you are not capable, because age is a signal of experience. Experience is a signal of value. But you found a space where you could offset those perceptions that being from India might be a limiter, that being young, that being inexperienced, not having a classically trained education. There's a lot of sectors where that might exclude you from participation. And so you found one where that wasn't the case, where if you were good enough, you were old enough. And if you were good enough, you were experienced enough, right? This is another reason I love sports. My co-founder, Jordan, used to say this all the time, is that if you're good enough, you're old enough. That's the thing about sports. Last night, Lamine Yamal scores a goal for Spain in the Euro Championships. He's 16 years old. It doesn't matter. He's good enough. He's old enough. He's on the field. He's the best player. He gets to play. And I think this is another arena where you have brought this to life in a way that's true. And then the second thing is you have given me such immense ammunition for understanding what it's like when someone has a desire to learn. So organizational training inside of CTC is something I've spent countless hours trying to figure out how to package appropriately and get people to consume the information and move it from a YouTube video to a podcast to a PDF to a test and step by step and create all these ways for people to learn, right? And I'll even still get people who internally at CTC will critique me and say like, Taylor, like you make yourself too available to the public and not available enough to us. And every time I do that, all I have to do is say, but what about Joy? Why was Joy able to go and get access to all the information such that he understands our system better than you? Because he's not an employee here. And all he uses are publicly available documents and his own wherewithal and his own persistence to access knowledge because he has the ambition to do it. It's important enough to him to make it possible. And so you've illustrated for me that when someone that I actually have provided sufficient information for people to understand what to do, that it is available to them if they have the appetite for it. Now, that doesn't mean I don't want to still make it simpler and create it more of it, but you have been a huge unlock for me to realize that the kind of people I need are the ones that are actually intrinsically motivated to solve it for themselves. And then the information becomes sufficient at that point.
All right. It actually explains a lot of things. So when you introduced me to CTC, like I knew half of the people because I've been on calls with them. There was this other half that I didn't know, but they knew me. And I was like, how do you know me? And he was like, Taylor tells stories about you inside CTC.
Yeah,
And
because
I never knew.
I would use it to illustrate that point. I would say that like what Joy did for me is he helped me to realize that the information was available if you were interested in it. And I think this is such a good reminder is that today we live in almost like an infinite world of knowledge, is that if you have a desire for it, I don't care what it is, you can learn it. Like the entire MIT course curriculum is available on freaking YouTube. Like the idea that someone needs to repackage the information for you in order for you to understand it is where I go, not the right person. Or at least maybe better said is not the person for this place, because I actually don't have time or availability to sit with each person individually and give them hours of one-on-one teaching. That won't work. But I do have lots of space to create material that if people are interested, it'll be consumed. And when I think about this, and this is a good setup for now to talk about why now with this service, is that I actually have no time inside of CTC Maine to spend on this market. It's not my core customer. I don't have the internal resources for it. It's not part of my budget and plan. So I need someone that is going to actually be the driver in such a way that it does matter to them, that they are purely supplemental to our present plans. And I think that's, Joy, part of what you create in here, that your motor to drive this forward and your persistence is what gives me the confidence that we as an organization right now can help to support it.
All right. I like that.
Okay. So I want to talk about, before we get to what the offering is, the other thing I want to talk about is the market dynamic right now. And you brought this up, you put together a very comprehensive PDF preparing for this in a very Joy fashion that talks a little bit about what is happening as it relates to outsourced talent and people's perception in the market right now. So maybe you can talk a little bit about what you've experienced being a growth marketer in this market over the last few years and why this sort of appetite and appreciation for it has suddenly changed or shifted.
Yeah. So when I actually initially started, the industry was better than most of the others that are out there. It was basically the only one where you could work and you would be actually doing good work and not just calling people up or just sending emails or basically admin stuff. So that was good, and that was good from the start. But what has recently happened is a lot of people have accepted that there's actually good talent outside of the state. And previously, you could never be on a client-facing call if you were outsourced talent, and that has changed. That has changed quite a lot. And also the perception of that, if that is from outside, I should be paying less for it, and it's not that good, has actually changed. Like people now will hire the best people in Barcelona or any other place for the sake of it, if you can prove that you can do good work. And I think that is good. Like I have seen a lot of people in the States that are actually not as good as the talent that is available outside. And even if it's same pay or competitive pay, they would probably just produce more value for you.
That's right.
That is the thing that has changed recently. Quite a lot.
Yeah. E-commerce has truly become a global marketplace where Well, there's a few things happen. Is that the United States, I think, in many ways, is progressive in its innovation as it relates to a lot of different different sectors. And e-commerce was certainly one of them. That maybe you could say that China is ahead in various ways, but in terms of like other global regions, it's certainly true that the e-commerce infrastructure in the United States is more mature than in many other places. And so what happens is that there are other regions where people are lagging, but they're maturing now. And so a lot of those places have developed where the knowledge has been disseminated now more broadly. So that's one thing, is that you have a maturing global e-commerce market. That's one thing that tends to raise the experience level and talent of the global markets. Two, you had COVID, which made remote work suddenly an equal playing field. Suddenly everybody was on Zoom calls all day. So being on a Zoom call didn't make you the outsider. That made you the norm. That was the second thing. And then three, I think, is the economics changed where everybody needed profit. And when you need profit, you seek value. And value is about the quality of the work relative to the price. And that becomes the most important thing in a moment where profitability is king. And so suddenly we're going, wait a second, that person over there that cost me substantially less money is equal, or even in some cases more talented than the present cost. That's a no-brainer choice in a moment where remote work is the norm and value is the key. And so those two things, those shifts in the market have made this all of a sudden, oh, wait a second, this is like a real possibility, right? Because the problem with our service is that it can't be just about Joy. We also have to scale up our talent side in the global market of people like Joy. And so, the good news is we're not choosing from 300 million Americans. We're choosing from 6.7 billion people across the world that have interest to it. So it's a large market to pull from. And we've had an incredible group of people that we've gotten to meet and are starting to develop around this program. But there's a lot of factors that have contributed to getting to this point now.
Yeah, sure.
The other part too, I'll just add, and then I want you to talk about the service and what we've experienced so far, Joy, is that we failed at this at CTC. And this, I think, is important to acknowledge, is that what I found was that in order for us to reach this market, the level of talent that we had to hire and put on the account wasn't good enough to make it work. Because here's the truth. 7-figure brands are probably harder to grow than 8-figure brands. They often have greater needs, scarcer resources, less creative, less product market fit, less of everything, and yet you have to make it work. There's less cash, there's more stress, there are higher levels of anxiety. And so the quality of talent actually needs to be higher. And so when we had all US-based labor, the reality was the price with which we could make margin on the service meant that we had lower level talent servicing lower customers. And we have a long slew of failures that we own from a business model that didn't work right. It wasn't the right way to set it up. Not because we weren't well-intentioned and didn't want it to work, but because the reality was that the skill that was necessary to drive those kinds of successes forward and how robust the service offering needed to be wasn't able to work economically for either side. And so I think that was like, man, I can't do this anymore. There's too much failure. We're not able to deliver on the promise at the level I want. So Joy, let's talk about how you conceptualized what our service could be to help solve for that problem.
And so going back on the discount Taylor thing, I remember the way we started CTC Accelerator was I came to you and I was like, Taylor, if actually discount Taylor existed, what would you do? And the second I asked that, there was this twinkle in your eyes, which was like, we got to serve 7-figure businesses. That's what we do. That is where I would like to do it because that is where I've lived. And those are the people I started the business for. And those are the people I want to serve the most. So, and you gave me this motto. You were like, we got to figure out a way for brands to take advantage of world-class marketing at the best price. I think those are the parameters in which we build this service. You broke down what are the problems, and it came out to be that a 7-figure business actually doesn't just need one media buyer. They need a media buyer. They need someone who can do forecasting, who can actualize that, who can control all those things. They can build a marketing calendar, help in that, knows what the competition is doing, what the future is going to look like. What do I do here? If this problem happens, what do I do here? They basically just didn't want a media buyer. They wanted a person who can actually sit with them and build a service that is, they can actually grow the business with them. And the biggest problem was do all of that at a very small P&L line item, which is, I think, where all the businesses that have done it in the past have failed or just not been able to deliver. So we came up with this idea of that there will be this CTC Accelerator program. And what you get is you get Facebook media buying, Google media buying, you get creative strategy, you get statless, and you get CTC's version of pro service, which is basically all the things I said. And if you think about what CTC has done over the last 12 years is they've basically taken enterprise level brands and grown them to 100 million or stuff like that. Basically, you can define the range that you want to, but the idea here is that we have been very good at finding businesses that have the ability to grow and then growing them very fast and very profitably. But if you look at the flip side of that, that means we have a very good way of knowing by looking at a brand who is at $15-20 million that this is a brand that is going to grow. And this is the one that doesn't. That means we exactly know the characteristics that need to be there by the time you reach 50 million to be able to grow that. And that's what it's done. Like that is a core part of this offering that we are going to grow, and we are going to actually help you build those characteristics so that you're a sustainable, profitable business. And you get all that along with CTC's growth strategy and the same tools and the same services and the same methods that we use to forecast, I think, $5 billion in GMV. So
That's right.
I think that is why it's a novel service offering that only we could have done.
So when we went and did this analysis at one point of how much money brands can afford to spend on outside services and still be profitable, right? And if you think about the benefit of being a large brand is that even if you're spending $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a month, if you're doing $10 million a month, that's an inconsequential percentage of your P&L, right? And I found that when agency services exceed 2 to 3% of your overall revenue, all of a sudden that becomes a ton of pressure that usually the surrounding economics of the business cannot support. Now, of course, there's obvious exceptions to that, but that's a generalized rule. And so I started thinking, okay, if we wanted to get to, let's say somebody who was doing, $2 to $3 million as a business, that's like the low end here, right? Of these businesses, what would the service need to cost in order to make sense? And how could we create scaled leverage for them as we got? And the number I kept coming back to was we needed to be able to deliver the entire thing. Facebook, Google, growth strategy, creative strategy, the tooling, all of it, all the things that we know are necessary to deliver our profit system. And we needed to be able to do it for $5,000 a month. And if you just break out the labor costs on a full-time US-based employee, there is no way to make money doing it. And anybody who says that they can do that, making money, is either has employees with 12 clients or is doing it at a loss and will eventually go out of business. But like it does not economically pencil in any way, shape, or form to actually be able to provide that service. So Joy said, Taylor, what I have is labor leverage. What you have is media leverage. What the CTC system enables is more operating leverage for that labor, right? You combine these things and we can give a really talented people a really great wage that actually improves their quality of life, improves their earning potential, and delivers for the customer at a value that makes immense sense. And so I said, okay, that all makes sense. The model in a spreadsheet as an idea makes sense, but Joy, I don't actually know if you're good at this yet. I really don't. I believe you. You're intellectually capable as we talk through the problems, but that's very different than delivering a service. And I don't know how customers are going to react. So we've got to test this. So that's when I sent that tweet out in January. And we got, what have we done, Joy? 5 case studies now together?
Probably.
So we've got 5 brands that we've been working with to find out, could we deliver a quality of service that would produce predictable, profitable growth? Does Joy do what he says he can do? And so Joy, so far, what's been the result?
I think it's been incredible. I remember the first beta test case was actually this. So this is a client called DOS. I got to wear this hat on the pod to rep them. And they were one of the first clients that came into the service. And I remember that they were working with a multi-billion-dollar business. And I think they basically got junior people and they were losing money for 2 months in a row before they joined CTC Accelerator. And the day they joined, I think the first month was the best month for their business ever. And since then, I think we have been on the upward trajectory. And if you actually think about it, for a 7-figure business, going from negative profit to going 6 figures in profit in a month is a huge deal. And that's what happened for them. And I think this is also the part of the reason you like these businesses so much, that as a token of appreciation, the founder actually flew 12 hours to my city to give me this hat that I'm wearing here. But that's how much they were happy with it. And
that, yeah, that's exactly right. The impact is so immediate and immense. And what I think is so special about this is that my experience of what 7-figure brand owner needs is they need a trusted guide. They need someone who they believe is going to be there for them and is going to outwork their problems for them, and that is going to give them direction when things are hard or confusing and keep them from wavering all over the place. And that's where I just don't think that there's anyone in the world that can match Joy in that effort and energy, as well as then the tactical execution to make it happen. And so, Joy, let's talk about a little bit about what we do, like, because I don't think it's actually too different from what we're doing inside of a giant business like Skullcandy or Igloo or Nike or anybody else that we work with. Talk about, like, what does someone get? So they show up, and what are you going to do for them?
So it's the same thing. We take over the accounts, and most of the time, these businesses are running some of the most sinful things in their account, which might be view optimization, not running cost control. So all the basic stuff and getting the house in order starts there. So getting your ad accounts up to pace and into the CTC ad launching and making instant money there. But apart from that, it's the whole process. So it starts with a duckweed analysis and understanding what the business's core strengths are. Do they remember the thing I told about characteristics? We know these are the things that need to be there for you to grow. We analyze what are the things you don't, and then we figure out a way how we can do that. And then that further goes into a growth map, the same document that we use across all the time. You get a growth map built, you understand what the strengths and the weaknesses are, and we basically break it down into single day, and every single day they get, okay, this is what we said we were going to do, this is what we did. And if any day we didn't do what we said we were going to do, there will be an update which will have, these are the things we are going to do to make sure that you hit the target for them. And I think for all the businesses that we've done, we've matched the same accuracy as CTC itself. I think like all the businesses that we built forecast for, we were within less than 5% delta. And the ability to actually predict future for a 7-figure brand, I would say it's more difficult just because they're more volatile than a 8-figure business. But we've done that. We've done the same process. And on top of that, they get access to CTC's data, which if you think about it, if you're a 7-figure business, you can just go and you can look at the same person in the same industry who's bigger than you, and you can go and, okay, so what are the things they did? What was their journey? And we know that in the most prominent way or in the most intimate way. We can say, okay, these are things you can do. This is how they've grown. And we can actually tell you how to go there. And we have this some aggregate of data, which we can tell you what the competition is actually doing using Statless. And we can tell you, we basically have all the data in the world. I remember you telling me, like, we have seen everything at this point. For 12 years in a row, we know what future looks like. So we know, take that turn, make that improvement, all that things.
So that's exactly it. Joy's going to build you a growth map. He's going to forecast the business to immense accuracy. And then he's going to execute every day against that forecast. He's going to help direct you in the channels that we don't directly manage. So even if you're doing email and SMS, we're going to talk to you about that program. We're going to say, hey, we need another email here. This one underperformed. What are we doing? And guide you on the journey, even in the channels that we don't manage, right? So even if you just wanted to work in Meta and you had somebody on your team that handled Google, no problem. We can figure out how to match the resource to your internal team, but we still sit in that seat of guiding you to the performance expectation that you need to be able to grow your business in a way that's healthy and predictable. And the good news is, like, we have been in test mode for a while, but we're getting ready to open this up more broadly. We're going to do this slowly because we have to match the talent to the execution, right? And so Joy you may have seen me put out a tweet lately about this. I think Joy did like 100 interviews last week with people from literally all over the world. Nigeria, Estonia, the UK, the Bahamas, the Philippines, people from all over the world having conversations about wanting to be a part of this program in different ways. And we've met some incredibly talented people that we're going to be adding into this program as we go forward. And so unlike a intermediary, there's, these shepherds and these other people out there that are marketer hire. They're like, hey, we'll find you the marketer and you guys go work it out together. We've found the talent and we're actually going to provide you the execution at a price that cannot be matched in the market. You cannot get this value at this price at any level. And that is what I feel immensely confident in.
I think there's a better quote, which you initially put when we started this service. You're like, John, if a brand is sub $15 million, they should fire their agency tomorrow because there's nobody in the world who can match the service, add the quality, add the value that we will create at this price.
That's right. And what's so fun about this is that, like, so often we have this like really high bar of responsibility to deliver value, right? Like at CTC, we charge a lot of money. It's expensive. And so that creates a lot of obligation, right? To deliver on a $600,000 contract requires a lot of really excellent work. To deliver value on $5,000, I'm not going to say that it's simple, but it's a lot lower threshold to clear. And the product is so dang good that the satisfaction rate here, I'm just so confident. And we've seen that already with the customers that we're working with. They're not going anywhere. Joy is a critical part of the service offering and is going to continue to expand it. We're going to have some of them available for people to talk to in this process. If you're interested in learning more about, hey, is this Joy guy really going to respond to me? Does he disappear? Do I get a bunch of other people jumping on the call? What is it like to work with and experience that team? You still get access to all the CTC tools, growth maps, Statless, etc. All those things that are there. Every now and again, I'm dropping in Slack and getting into some discussions, which Joy hates because I cause a little chaos for him when I do. But it's really, I think, a special thing that we're excited to build. And so we probably have, our goal is to add 5 more customers over the next 30 to 45 days into this program. So there's going to be a limited amount of available spots. So if you reach out to CTC through our website and ask for the CTC Global Accelerator, again, limited to brands in the 7-figure range, that's the customer demo that we're serving with this product. And we'll tell you if we think we can make an impact for you, if our system and tooling will do the work. And I can't overstate to you, and we've sort of been discussing how we want to position this thing. And for me, there's lots of things we could do from a deck and a marketing standpoint. But I just want to tell you that I believe that the difference is Joy, is that I have met over 12 years, many people. And I have this joke internally at CTC that we have this collection of people that are like, I call them my Pokemon. Like, I've got to collect them all because they're this immense group of incredibly talented people from all over the world that have really been transformative to our business, that have opened my eyes to the potential and talent that exists in the world. And at this price, you can't find Joy. It's just what I'll tell you. You just can't. You can't find that level of talent and competency and skill in the service. And so come challenge it. Come find out what it's like. And I say that having run this service for many years at different levels. Well, we can offer an 8-figure brand. We can offer you as a 7-figure brand at a price that actually allows you to grow your business in a healthy and consistent way. So, Joy, any last words that you would leave the people with?
If you're sell $50 million, just fire the agency and come over.
Joy, where can people find you? Because you're going public. We're making him get out into the world. He has been a lurker who has been in probably many of your DMs, but now he's not just going to learn, he's going to teach too. And that's what part of what I've told Joy is that's part of the obligation, is that if you're going to soak up everybody's knowledge, you now have to become a vessel for it. You can't let it sit within you. And so whether that's training people inside the Global Accelerator or teaching publicly, that at CTC, we have this saying, which is like, we're a well, and we don't care if people copy our stuff. We don't care if people take it and learn it, because we're always going to produce more. And so we want to be that well. And now he's going to be part of that into this market as well. So where can they find you, Joy?
I think Twitter is the best place. Just type in Joy Sharma _11. I don't know. I couldn't find a good username, honestly, at this point.
And what if they want to just email you directly? Where could they do that?
Oh, it's joy@commonthreadgo.com.
There you go. Look at that email address. He's been after that one for a while. So it's official. joy@commonthreadco.com. You can reach out, let him know that you want to learn more about how we can work together. And we're excited to do it. So if you're a 7-figure brand, we care about you. We always have. We've wanted to find a way back to giving you something that we think would be an immense value. And we're excited to do it.
That's the twinkle in the eye I told you about.
That's right.
All right.
All right, everybody. Talk soon.